what it says now. Hold on. Hey, comic book fans, Pete here from Comic Books Transformed, where me and my very good friend Brian discuss all of the comic book adaptations into movies and streaming shows, anything you like. This time around, we are finally finishing up Secret Invasion. Brian, this was yet again another one of your favorite Marvel projects, right?
Yes.
Yes.
You know what? We usually rank the shows, and I actually didn't do that. I could probably do it on the fly if we needed to by the end.
Yes, I thought about that too. I've been kind of busy. I just went back to work. I was trying to think about the last time we recorded. It's been a while since we recorded. Like crazy shit has happened. Like Sinead O'Connor died. Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman just died today.
That kills me. That was like a huge part of my childhood, apart from comics and Transformers and Star Wars and all that stuff. Like I loved Pee Wee's Playhouse, especially Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Like I watched that movie a billion times.
Yeah, ditto. Huge fan of that movie. Pee Wee's Playhouse was like a show like right in my formative years. A little kid, I remember watching on Saturday mornings. They even had like a Pee Wee movie that came out kind of recently with like Joe Manganiello was in it. Did you see that one?
I did see that. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah.
And
I got to see it. I don't know if you saw it. You weren't in New York at the time, but they did. There was a Broadway version of Pee Wee's Playhouse. They did like it was probably 10 years ago at this point.
Oh wow.
Or maybe 7 or 8, something like that. But that was really great too.
Oh, okay. That sounds pretty freaking awesome. I think I remember hearing about that. But obviously he was 70 years old. It's this kind of weird thing where it's like, okay, yeah, when someone dies when they're 70, you sort of understand. It wasn't like he was like 50 or he like died. He actually had cancer, which is pretty unfortunate.
Yeah. It's a scary thing. I absolutely respect the people that try to keep it private because you don't want that to be publicized and have to be poked and prodded while you're going through this horrible thing. So I do respect that choice to keep it private.
Yeah. And David Bowie did that too. I remember too. But
and Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman, very good example. Good example. Yeah. So I mean, it's crazy. There's been like a lot of stuff. Also, like Barbie came out, Oppenheimer came out.
Oh man! Speaking of Barbie, I saw Barbie the same day I watched the finale of this show, and man, was it a like a cultural like breakneck like snap. We're seeing Gravik as a Ken.
Oh my god, I totally forgot he was in that too. Yeah. Very different. Yeah.
Yeah, that man was that like weird.
I'm guessing that you liked Barbie better than you liked the finale of Secret Invasion.
Well, okay. I was really down on Secret Invasion 4 and 5 or somewhere. I don't know, maybe it was 5. I don't remember which one. That whole scene with the president getting attacked and like no one saying like, "Oh, there's aliens." That really, really just set me off. But I did like the finale better than that. I will say that.
Honestly, with the finale, it almost feels like it was like a fever dream or something. I'm like, did I actually watch it? I don't really remember it being like of any kind of like it didn't have any kind of weight to it for me. Like I remember like the big reveal. Okay, so spoilers. Now, I don't think anyone even gives a shit, honestly. But like spoilers, Gaia or whatever her name is, Gina. What's Gaia? Okay, Gaia. She pretends to be Nick Fury, and Nick Fury confronts Gravik. He turns on the machine, and then it's like, oh, Gaia is the one that got empowered, and then a Super Skrull of Gravik fights a Super Skrull of Gaia, and then she kills it.
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so my first question to you is, didn't he have an extremist power?
Yeah, that was a big question for me. The only thing I can think of is that like he was killed with Captain Marvel's power, and maybe that is enough to disrupt extremists. Because it's she essentially is the strongest thing in the galaxy, pretty much, right?
Yeah,
or the strongest hero at the very least.
Yeah,
maybe that's up for contention now with Guy. I don't know, but that was the best thing I can come up with. But if that's not true, that's such a dumb cop out.
I know that like in Iron Man 3, where they did have people that had extremists in their system, you could kill them. Like you had to sort of like overload them or whatever with like electricity or like, shoot them in the head or something. So I guess like you can kill a person with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Even
still,
though,
it seems a little extreme. Like he was, taking shots to the face previously and all kinds of other stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, I guess in terms of that overloading thing, I would say that it checks out on a very basic level that Captain Marvel's power may, cause that overloading.
Yeah. They are pushing back the release of the Marvels, right?
I haven't heard that. I mean, not. I mean, it was pushed back from the summer to November, like a while back, but I haven't heard about another one since then.
Okay, that might be it. I was just listening to the Weekly Planet, and they were talking. They were going to talk about this particular episode of Secret Invasion.
Although it's super weird because if you go to like McDonald's now, they have the Marvels toys and the Happy Meals.
Right.
Because they can't push that stuff back. Same thing with like action figure releases. Once they sort that out, that's got to get sorted out like before the movie comes out, which is crazy to me.
Yeah. So I want to address that because I think it's sort of part of this overarching thing I want to discuss with you. I went to my mom's just before I got here, and she had one of those toys. She bought one of those toys for my daughter. Mm-hmm. And it's sitting on her counter, and I'm looking at this toy. I'm like, okay, this is one of those Marvel things because that's what they do for Marvel movies now. They all connect. They all are like these little bobblehead things. I had no idea who the character was at all.
Who was it then?
It was some dude. I think it was a dude. It might have been a woman, but they had like a little like headband on, and their arms went like this, like they were like doing like the walk like an Egyptian. and I have no idea who the fuck that is.
Oh, Pete, that's the Egyptian. You don't know that?
Oh, yes, the Egyptian. Yes,
the Kree Egyptian.
Yes. Okay. Good. The reason why I'm even bringing up this random point of seeing this stupid figure is because I feel like they're making some very strange choices at Marvel, and I feel like, don't you kind of feel like this is almost like we're kind of just living off fumes at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. I've said this before. Like we've burned through the vast majority of the top tier characters, and because this is real life and not comic books where they can endlessly de-age everyone or condense time as however they want to explain it. We can't do that with people's lives. Yeah. So the people that are in these movies, they were in them for a good 10 years and they wanted to stop. Yeah, and that's kind of it. Maybe Marvel should get into recasting. Yeah. So they can keep these characters going. I mean, certainly wouldn't be the first time in movie history that people have been recast, and they've certainly done it a few times here. Why not recast Captain America or maybe Tony Stark is actually dead, but why not recast them? Why not recast Chris Hemsworth if he doesn't want to do it anymore, or whoever else? Tom Holland. Well, that's even weirder situation. Who knows with all those legal things and all that. Yeah. Recast people. Give us the characters that sell your comic books.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's a great line right there. Give us the characters that sell your comic books. Because I look at all the characters in this Marvel's trailer. There's the three main characters that I recognize because I'm a big comic book fan. I think that the general public has an idea about most of them, but all the Kree people and all that, I'm like, who the fuck are any of these people? I have no idea who any of them are.
Yeah.
And that's bad if, like me, 40-year-old man who's devoted most of his life to comic books doesn't recognize the characters.
And then again, too, with this show, Secret Invasion, the comic book version of this was headlined with every superhero, basically. Every faction was represented, and everybody had some Skrull implant there. Yeah. Like every franchise had a character that was a Skrull. And here it's essentially just stuck to with the espionage community in the MCU.
Yeah.
This is the kind of property that needed a big thing. And I understand that it's, seeing movies like Infinity War and Endgame where every single character is there is a huge, ridiculous undertaking. And we can't do that all the time, but I mean, you got to find a better way to adapt these, I guess.
Yeah. I don't understand. Like, you said a great line of like pick the characters that sell your comics, right? And so at the end of the last episode, Nick Fury makes a phone call, and you and I are fantasy booking. We're like, who's he calling? Is he calling this superhero? Is he calling this superhero? We're getting all excited because they're thinking, oh, they're going to save their best for the finale, right? This special cameo. And it just ends up that he called Gaia, you know?
Yeah, no, essentially all of our fantasy booking is wrong. It's incorrect because we're dreaming too big. We need to stick with the more realistic expectations and realize that this is a TV show. It's smaller scale. It's smaller budget. Yes, they had a big CGI battle that probably spent a lot of money on, but that's the best we can expect for a TV show, I think. I mean, and this is a TV show that had movie stars. Like I've said this before. Has Samuel L. Jackson done TV before? No.
Yeah, I guess not. Yeah. Do you feel like there's like a balance that makes like the best kind of comic book movies, the ones that like we are the most excited about? Because like if you look at like the Arrowverse, right? The Arrowverse gives you everything you could possibly ever want. It gives you Crisis on Infinite Earths, and it gives you every character you could ever imagine. But it's at this Batman. Except for Batman. Okay, very good points. Except for Batman, thank you. But it gives you everything you would want, yet it's on a reduced budget, and the storylines and stuff are a little bit more hokey, right? So it's not like the level of quality is not there, but the ambition is absolutely there, right? And then with Phase 3 Marvel, you have the quality and the ambition, and you're able to like balance it. But otherwise, most of the times it's disjointed, right? Well, it's either that the quality's there, but the ambition is low, like with Secret Invasion, you know?
So I think that's the to explain the difference there. I think you have to think that the Arrowverse was 4, 5, 6 CW shows that filmed in the same place at approximately the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Those people were all nearby, working around the same times. Most likely, I'm sure there's some variation there, but these shows they're filmed very separately in very different locations, right, all the time, and it's probably a lot harder to line up all the actors needed that would be required to do these bigger storylines.
Yeah, no, I know. It's like I don't even need like a fucking recreation of the Secret Invasion comic. I don't even need that. I just need like something that makes me think, oh, this was worthwhile. Like this story was worth telling versus, oh, we just know that this was an existing comic. We want to make money off of you for the streaming service, and that's why we made it. Like I understand that like the selling point for this, if they can't have the comic itself, is, well, we're going to tell like a sort of like a swan song story for Nick Fury. It's like the end of his career. Samuel Jackson's this incredibly huge actor. This is going to be his starring role, right? But it's not as satisfying because he's just this like bit character that when they go to make him fleshed out in this, it's like not enough, you know?
Maybe. I guess not enough is correct, but I don't think it was necessarily bad.
Yeah.
No, his character development, it gives you something, I guess, but maybe it was lacking. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually don't think there was like a lot of bad stuff in this show. The things that you pointed out, that's like the stuff that kind of makes you cringe, where it's like they're attacking the president and there's Skrulls and no one seems to bat an eye at that. That's bad. But the acting was very good in this. And I mean, you have freaking Olivia Colman in this, who's great, even in this last episode too.
Yeah.
Doesn't she kind of make you wish that there was like a Marvel British show that was like kind of based around like maybe Captain Britain or?
An Excalibur show, Captain Britain, Union Jack thing. Is it Megan? I'm always getting confused now because of Justice.
Ms. Marvel. Yeah. I mean, Marsh, whatever the fuck her name is.
Ms. Martian. Yeah.
There you go. Did you ever read that Captain Britain and the MI16 book?
I don't think so.
Oh man, that's a really good one, man.
Yeah,
by Paul Cornell, and it's like got all these like British superheroes on it.
Huh? No, I mean I've read some Excalibur, some older Excalibur and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think Man, maybe I have. I don't even know. I've read a lot of comic books.
Yeah, it came out kind of like in that prime time of like really good books. It has like Pete Wisdom on the team. Do you know who Pete Wisdom
I know Pete
is?
Wisdom. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
him from X-Men stories more so, but yeah.
right. He's in it, and yeah.
And
But anyway,
another thing too. Sorry, you were talking about. I said something that jogged my memory. You mentioned Olivia Colman, who's playing Sonia Fallsworth, and
yeah,
Fallsworth is the last name of one of the characters that played Union Jack before.
yeah.
I didn't pick up on that at all. I only figured that out very recently. So
Yeah. Well, she was a highlight of the show. I thought that she was really great. I actually really liked that Fury had a wife who was a Skrull, and I like that by the finale she showed her Skrull face and he kissed her as a Skrull. I really like that a lot.
Yeah, it was interesting. I thought it was an interesting reveal, but I don't know if it really went anywhere enough to justify its existence, I guess.
Right. That's the whole show.
And then, yeah, like, but with the relationship in particular, though, it's like she says, "Oh, Nick Fury says to her, I need you with me. I need you to help, whatever." And she's like, "Oh, I'll start you off there, but I'm not staying the whole time," which basically means I'm going to be there off camera, and then by the time the Marvels is there, you're not even going to know I exist.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So it looks like he has a pretty active role in the Marvels too. You've seen that second trailer, right?
I've seen, yeah, I have, yeah.
That they show him like blasting some enemies in that.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm excited for that movie, to be honest. Yes, but maybe not as excited as I would be for, Phase 3 movies, I suppose. But I do want to see it. And I lost my train of thought. Never mind.
What's your main selling point on that movie?
Ooh, the main selling point? I don't know. I don't know. The trailer was good. The first trailer had Beastie Boys. Maybe that's what it was doing for me.
Oh, you think like maybe Kamala Khan?
Yeah, honestly, I think my favorite moment in the trailer is when she first teleports, switches places with somebody, and she sees Goose eat something, and she's like, "Ah!"
Yeah. She's freaking out.
That might have been my favorite part, and that might have sold it a little bit for me, which is a very, very minor thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like Monica Rambeau in WandaVision.
Yeah, I liked her too a lot. Yeah, and I'm glad that she'll have a costume and all that now, and I'm curious to see how they'll tie them all together, because they, they're slightly different than the comics, I would say.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So, what else should we say about Secret Invasion? Was there anything that you wish they had done, or like you were kind of bothered by in this finale? I know we covered a lot already.
Okay, yeah, there was one thing that bothered me, absolutely.
Okay.
And this is one of those like dumb things too. It's just when Nick Fury and Sonya Fallsworth are kind of holding Rhodey hostage, and they're talking to the president, and they're like, "He's a Skrull," and they're pointing guns at each other, and they're like, the easiest thing to do would have been to just stab him or something, and to see purple blood pop out. And you're like, "Oh shit, you're right." But no, they gotta drag it out for dramatic reasons, whatever. I mean, because it makes it bad, because the previous episode, she walks into the office of like some high government ranking, like prime minister or something like that, and shoots him.
Yeah.
Without a second thought. And now they're sitting there like, "Oh, he's the Skrull. Oh no, they're the bad guys." Or it's ridiculous.
I agree. And actually, you know what else is ridiculous in that scene is that the president eventually has a gun too, right? And the president's holding a gun.
Yeah, the president takes the gun away from the guy with the arm brace.
Oh God. Yeah. That's pretty goofy.
Yeah, it's goofy. The battle, I really lost what Gravik wanted. It's not clear. Like I liked what he said his motivation was, but it clearly wasn't his motivation. He said he wanted to take over the Earth in terms of and finding a home, taking over the Earth as a home for the Skrulls. But he killed all his followers. So like, what the hell? Like, what was it all for?
He didn't kill all the Skrulls though.
No. There's still a lot more Skrulls, but all the ones that were like, "Hey, like, we're with you. We're living in this new Skrullos. We're like your number one fans here." we turn
Right.
on you, but I'm going to kill all of you. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those, and I don't think his performance was bad. It's just like his motivation got really off track by the end, and it's
Yeah.
just like it's just sad, I guess.
I agree. There was one thing that we were talking about like last time we did a video. We were saying how maybe his plan sort of changed and it became okay. Well, we're gonna empower ourselves so that if anyone else comes here, like if the Kree come here or something, we're gonna have superpowers like superheroes to fight and defend ourselves. And when Gaia is pretending to be Nick Fury, she offers him like an ultimatum or like a choice or whatever. She says, you know, you can have the harvest and you can have these powers, go someplace else and conquer another world. I don't care, just leave Earth.
Yeah.
So I liked that sort of like if that had actually been Nick Fury, I think that would have been an interesting twist where he's like, hey, I don't care as long as Earth's safe, I don't care what you go do.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, sure. And then also it's you know, the ending scene, Nick is talking about peace talks with the Kree.
Right.
And it's like, well, why didn't you do that in the first place?
Right, well, that is absolutely a bridge into the Marvels because I know the Kree are in the Marvels.
Yeah. I read something about this show that the creators, whose names I do not remember, they were just given two objectives.
Okay.
They said by the end of the show, Nick Fury has to go back up to space, and they said that Rhodey has to not walk.
Okay.
So
Okay.
essentially, they're saying that's when Rhodey has been replaced so far back that it was basically Civil War, where he can't really walk and get around.
Wow.
And I guess that sets up Armor Wars.
Yeah.
In some way, which I don't know what's going to be about without Tony Stark.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what that'll do there.
Okay, that's actually kind of interesting. They do show him sort of like having to be held up by like two other guys or another guy when he's released from the Skrull camp or whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
which also brings up a logistical question to me.
Mm.
That was years ago, clearly.
Yeah.
So and Rhodey was Rhodey dusted? No,
Rhodey was not dusted. Rhodey was not dusted.
I wonder if real Rhodey was, but he's been there for a very long time. What are these people like eating or being fed? How are they still alive? Why do they have like crazy facial hair? Like what?
Oh, okay.
Anything.
So I got the stupid hand wavy answer for that, unfortunately, which is probably like they're in stasis, where it's like they're not needing food or growing anything. But that's a really, really interesting question that you just asked, which is like, what about the people that are in that stasis if they got dusted? That's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, because then like they would come back after the blip, and I guess maybe they would just wake up or be back in those chambers. But that's a real interesting little thing to play around with.
Yeah, I think so. But it's not, I mean, it is an interesting idea, but I can't imagine them doing anything with that or making it worthwhile, really, unless you take a major character somehow.
Yeah, or like the person gets dusted, and then when they reappear, they're awake and they like escape to go like tell other people. That would have been interesting if like someone was kind of like on the run. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm also sure there's probably some scenario where I mean there was a million Skrulls, and then there was a room that Gaia was kind of like recruited by Sonya. And they kind of go find some secret base, and there's like 100 billion beds or whatever. And I'm assuming are all people that are in stasis also.
Yeah.
That was the implication I got. I don't know why they get to lay down, the other people have to stand up. But and they just like lazily roll about. Like there's no order whatsoever. They're just kind of like pushed in any weird direction. I don't know how that's efficient in any way.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some weird scenario where someone was dusted and that was being impersonated, or maybe they impersonated someone that was dusted and they didn't realize it, and like something should have gotten found out somewhere.
Yeah.
Half the population was wiped out. Like
Right.
some weird coincidence had to have been where somebody would have figured this out somehow.
Yeah, well, that was the beauty of the Secret Invasion event, was that you had this sort of like main book that was like this crossover where everything's happening in the modern day, but then Bendis was writing the two Avengers books, like Secret Avengers and or New Avengers and Mighty Avengers. And it both books kind of showed what happened over the years while the Skrulls had taken over.
Yeah.
You know, it would do like flashbacks of scenarios like what we're talking about. Like, what were the Skrulls doing when it was M Day, which is when the mutants got wiped out? I mean, I know you know all this shit, but I'm just saying this to the audience. You know, like that's interesting stuff. And this show just didn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
The show didn't do anything like that, and it killed off Maria Hill and Talos, and you know, yeah.
Well, Everett Ross is alive.
Oh,
he got one line at the end.
Great. Let's have some more scenes with him and Elaine. I want to see that. That's interesting stuff, right? God dang it. I had one last thing I wanted to say. Okay, I had one more complaint. The scene when Guy is pretending to be Nick Fury and she starts coughing because she's by this like nuclear site, right? Did you think for a second that was actual Nick Fury?
Early on, I did. But as it went along and he's coughing more and more and he drops his pills, I'm like, okay, that's clearly not him because he's alive in the movie. Like,
right.
It isn't out yet. Right. So, yeah.
Well, see, I was bothered by that. I mean, I was like, okay, you can kind of tell this is going to be Guy and pretend to be him. But then the fact that Graphic turns on the machine with Nick Fury in the machine, it's like, you know, why would you do that? You know, if you're going to like kill him or something, just kill him first or yeah.
Yeah. What was the guarantee that wasn't going to give him powers too, you know?
Yeah. Imagine if it actually was real Nick Fury and he like pulled up his eye patch and like the Cyclops blasted him, you know? That's how he won. He's like, thank you. You know?
Oh, man.
That would have been awesome. So
the one last thing we need to talk about too, I think this is actually one of the major things that came out of it and kind of maybe softened the blow of how I felt about the show overall was the end result of the president's actions after finding out that, you know, Skrulls exist and they're on the planet and they've kind of invaded. There were some brutal like terrorist actions, taken on people that were assumed to be Skrulls and then people that were already, they came back from, they were the real person. They also got killed too.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a crazy status quo to leave off on,
I totally agree. That was some of the most violent Marvel stuff I've seen.
Yeah.
There's just like one politician like giving a speech and just people just mow him down with a machine gun. Yeah, it's pretty horrible. That kind of reminded me of like the Skrull Kill Crew comic I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Where they just like in cold blood just murder people because they're Skrulls,
Yeah. And I wonder if they're even going to be able to do anything with that. Like, I wonder if that's going to affect anything else, any other movie moving forward.
No, I think that like you might have some kind of thing that just bridges it to Captain Marvel, but I think that like as far as Skrulls go, we're done with them. There's in the second Marvel's trailer, don't they say something like, that's Captain Marvel, that's Carol Daniels, the Annihilator? Don't they say the Annihilator in the trailer?
Oh, I didn't hear them call it the Annihilator.
Okay. I have to rewatch it. That was actually getting my fantasy booking, my sort of like that fan brain working. I was like, oh, what if they do like a couple of Captain Marvel movies where it's just cosmic stuff,
Yeah.
And if they do that, then like I could see Gaia coming and joining them as like a Super Skrull kind of stand-in.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what they do with her, if anything at all. That comment I mentioned before with the creators, how they were given those kind of two directives and they kind of were given free reign otherwise. I guess that's just how things run. Like they said, this is what we're trying to do. This is where it needs to end up. Feel free to do what you want. And I think that's why we get that feeling so much of things that are there and then they just kind of completely fall off afterwards. because it's just in that own little world, kind of like comic books in a way.
Yeah.
Like there's all like you're reading Spider-Man books and things cross over, but essentially they're mostly just contained within this other Spider-Man books or X-Men books or Avengers books. They don't really they're not all constantly talking. The creators are not all constantly talking, plotting this out. But maybe that's what needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's too hard to do. I don't know. Maybe they need more of a guiding hand. I'm not really sure. I don't want to stifle creators. I always think back to Ant-Man and the first Ant-Man and Edgar Wright and how he was like, you know what, I had a vision and I wanted to do this, and they wanted me to do things to set other things up, and I didn't want to do it. I don't know. Maybe we're just finally seeing all the flaws here. We're not blinded by these major characters in our favorite comic storylines anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's always people, and you included, that kind of say well, this is the reason why it's not as good after Phase 3. And one thing that I keep thinking about is maybe after Phase 3, you don't have James Gunn in the MCU helping out. He did make Guardians 3, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, but I mean, Guardians is very self-contained. Yes, those characters are in some of the Avengers movies, but sometimes they don't even feel like the same characters in that sense. So, I mean, obviously you can't watch Guardians 3 without seeing Infinity War and Endgame, because otherwise, what the hell happened to Gamora? But I think his movies were very self-contained otherwise. And I don't think that the loss of him is necessarily going to be a negative in terms of the larger picture.
Yeah. Well, I just because
I remember either.
right. But I remember reading that they had him come up with what the Infinity Stones were. I mean, that's because there's a scene in Guardians. But I think he was saying it. He might have even done that in that interview he did on Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, where he was talking about how they just would come up to him with questions or hey, what should we do with this? And he would give his feedback. And I think that having him as that sounding board could be really important for the big picture stuff. Yeah. And then also, honestly, nobody talks about Joss Whedon at all. And, because I think he's kind of a creep, and I guess rightfully so. But he really helped make the MCU what it became.
Yeah. I mean, Avengers is easily the best Phase 1 movie.
Yeah.
So, and I think, although Age of Ultron doesn't have the same impact as the first one, it is still a good movie. Honestly, I think it gets a bad rap.
I agree. Totally agree. Yeah. So, I mean, I just think that losing people like that, and then just sort of getting a lot of these Rick and Morty people, it's just I feel like it just sort of makes it a lesser quality.
Yeah, but the Rick and Morty people have really just been with the shows, though, right? Oh no, Jeff Loveness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's not really. That Quantumania, oof. Rough, man. So why don't we? We're sort of saying a lot of negative stuff about Marvel. Why don't we transition to something that we love quite a bit?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So Invincible, Adam Eve, nice little special, nice little morsel to hold us over until Invincible comes back, which is when again?
I want to see November 3rd.
Okay. Nice little pre-Thanksgiving feast, right?
Yes.
Invincible, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. That show, it's probably one of your favorite things you've watched in the past few years, right?
Yes. The relationship between Mark and his dad is so compelling. It's one of the most compelling things I have seen in a comic book, and it's so weird because it's kind of like a retread of. It's not like a retread. It's a twist on established, tropes. Yes, but it's so well done, so good. I was on the verge of tears in that show.
Yeah. It's so well done in terms of the animation itself. The animation is very exciting, and what they choose to do and how they show action sequences and how much violence they use. That's exciting in itself. But then you have these really great actors that they've chosen to be their main characters, like Steven Yeun and
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons, right? But I mean, the cast. There's so many people. I actually. So we're talking about Adam Eve. I was really surprised to see that Lance Reddick was in this episode.
Yeah, it must have been recorded a long time ago. I mean, there was, that it always shocks me. I'm such a huge fan of Lance Reddick's, mainly because I loved the show Fringe, and I played Destiny. I mean, I haven't played in a while, but I played that game for, I don't know, 7-8 years, whatever it's been out, and he is a major main character that is in everything. It's weird. They haven't. I don't think they've had. They've already aired. I don't know. Released the last scene with his lines. I don't know if they've done anything beyond then, but like, it's gonna be weird to not hear his voice coming out of that character moving forward. Like, it's like a staple. So yeah, it was very, very weird to hear him again. And you kind of forget about it almost.
Yeah, and he plays a pretty despicable character in this. Before we go into like who's in this, I just wanted to talk about like just a little bit more about the voice cast. Phil Lamar's in it. Phil Lamar's always in all these animated superhero shows. Then you have Stephen Root. And I couldn't place him at first. And I was like, oh yeah, Stephen Root. And then he was also in that He-Man show where he was Cringer, right?
Yeah.
And then Tatiana Maslany played Queen Lizard too. That kind of blows my mind.
Oh, really? I didn't pick up on that. Who was? Wait, you said somebody else's name. What was the other name you said before Stephen Root?
It's Phil Lamar.
Who was Phil Lamar in this?
It says sidekick voice, so I think maybe he was like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he's in like almost every animated.
He's in everything, yeah. He's in a lot of things, yeah.
From Justice League and stuff.
Jon Stewart, and he was Jazz and Transformers animated, tons of things, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on his voice there. Yeah, but yeah, the voice cast is always stellar here. The main show has a lot of names too. Sandra Oh.
Seth Rogen shows up.
Seth Rogen. Yeah, I mean, Seth Rogen is like fantastic comic property producer now. Like, this and The Boys, and I have very high expectations for Ninja Turtles this week.
Well, did he do Preacher too?
Yeah.
I mean, he has good taste, that's for sure.
Yeah. So that's I'd like to see him do more things, honestly.
Yeah. I just watched a show with him and Rose Byrne called Platonic. It was on Apple, and me and Sherry actually really loved that too.
Huh.
Yeah, but his character, what's his name? What Martian? What is he? The Martian? What?
I don't remember. I started watching this special, and I messaged you. I'm like, I don't remember who anybody is.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't remember. Like, so the special starts out with the scientist that's played by Stephen Root, and he's with this woman that's about to give birth. The Guardians of the Globe show up, and I was trying to remember what each of their names were, and I could only remember the Immortal and War Woman, who's like Wonder Woman, right?
That's all I remember.
Yeah, and everyone has like.
I'm sorry, they name dropped a few other characters that couldn't be there as well.
Yeah,
like, whatever the Batman one and the Flash allegories were, they name dropped them, but they weren't there.
Right. Yeah, I think Darkwing is like kind of like the Batman one.
Darkwing sounds about right. Yeah.
But there's this great action sequence with them just fighting these Serpent Society type people. They're basically the equivalent of the Serpent Society, and it's a pretty prolonged battle.
Yeah,
I liked it. And then I think there was an Adam Eve miniseries at one point as a comic. Did you read it?
I haven't even read that much of Invincible, actually. I watched the show blind. I mean, I knew the big twist. I had read the first volume or so, like, back when we were still in Walden Books, probably, that long ago. And then I bought an omnibus or two on a sale when the season came out, but I hadn't read it really. So I guess I have to go do that.
So okay, hold on. So
what's funny though? It's funny. But it's funny. Let me interrupt you there, because I remember you saying that you telling me that the book isn't as good as the show, and that probably stopped me from reading it.
No, the show is better than the book. It's like The Boys. I like the show better too, and they're both on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
However, with that being said, the comic is still really really good. Like the show is like leagues above most of the comic book shit that we talk about on this channel.
Yeah.
Like it's like way better than most of the Marvel stuff and the DC, not Doom Patrol, but like a lot of the other stuff. It's definitely better than Jupiter's Circle, right? But
Yes.
like the comic is really good for a comic though too. And oh man, you could just get it from the library too and just save yourself some dough.
Yeah. Well, I have one or two omnibuses, so that
Yeah.
should cover me a good chunk, I'd say.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. Maybe it's that this is something that's original, and again, a lot of these characters are very clearly retreads of existing characters. Very few is feels like a very original character. You can name any character, and we can say, oh, that's this from Marvel or this from DC.
Right.
Uh,
Good point.
for the most part, there, but I don't know. Maybe it's just that we're getting the entire universe here. We're getting the A tier characters. I think that maybe just what it is and why this feels so good as opposed to a Nick Fury TV show. And that's not to say that a lesser tier character can't be something great.
Yeah.
But I maybe they're just scraping the bottom of the barrel, and really, and people want the big things, and this show gives you the big things. I think
Yeah.
maybe this could be argued as a spin-off sort of thing. I mean, it is just a one-off episode. That's really it. It's just an origin story for Adam Eve. But still, it still delivered the same kind of story that I felt would be that I would expect from after watching the first TV show. It's some superhero tropes and then just some really tragic kind of twists throughout of personal and professional like tragedies.
Yes. 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 Um, One of the things that's kind of like a through line through the Invincible comic is that the government wants to make their own superheroes, and that leads to a lot of like messed up creations, and that's kind of the focus of this special. And they, first of all, you have Lance Reddick's character who's very like brutal and doesn't care about hurting anyone. He just wants to have this special weapon. It doesn't matter who dies in the process. And they have all these like lab rat creatures that essentially are Eve's siblings. And you said, the word tragic, and I they did a really good job showing the tragedy of these characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of the beauty of the show, right? Is that you can feel bad for these like horrific, twisted creatures that science has made, but yet you can also have this like very inventive, intense action sequence with them too.
Yeah, where they get run over and turned into mush.
right. But like they get run over and turn into mush, but then they still like come back and reform and stuff. It's very much like Akira, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, that's a really good comparison.
Yeah. I don't think I even read that Adam Eve miniseries, but I know the character, Eve from Invincible from reading the whole thing. And I always remember that like her parents are real assholes, like her adoptive parents. And that's this definitely made that seem like
she emancipated herself. I mean they dropped that as a fact in the show or the comic, I should say. But seeing the background of that was brutal.
Yes.
Like they were horrible parents.
Yes, especially the dad. The dad was
man.
Yeah, because I mean, they showed that Eve as she's growing up, she's like very intelligent and she sees things that other people don't see, and she's like making fucking like molecules and stuff by using balls.
That's who Phil Lamar was, the kid, the babysitter.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yes, maybe. Okay, you figured it out. Good, okay. And so the dad just doesn't appreciate it. Like, why are you so weird? Just kept telling his own daughter how she's a freak.
Be normal, yeah.
As a father of little girls, that was really upsetting me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a father of little girls, but it was very upsetting.
So, I guess we kind of have covered most of this, but what I really liked, the very last scene, so Eve has these powers where she can just alter reality, essentially, right? And she she gets mad at her mom or dad, and then she knocks over a picture. She goes to fix the picture, but then she actually makes the picture of the scientist that saved her life and the test subjects, but they're all like normal looking. I actually really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really nice ending.
And another note with the personal tragedies too, that she had like the one friend, and she tried to show her who she really was, and she just abandoned her.
Yeah.
So this poor girl is just like abandoned by everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool because obviously she has a thing with Mark, and he makes her life exciting, and she's also on that team of like, I think they're called the teen team or something like that.
Yeah.
But she has so much more of a life, but then there's a lot of tragedy and stuff that like being on that team and being with Mark also brings too.
Yeah, and another nice little comment. I mean, from the first season, she lives in like a treehousey kind of place.
Yeah.
And I just seeing that she spent time in that treehouse in her backyard with her friend, and it meant so much to her that's what she went and did. God, that just breaks your heart too.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so well done, because it's like, I think that just in general, James Gunn said this in an interview too, on that Michael Rosenbaum thing, where it's just like, they just make movies because they're like, oh, people like superheroes, so we're going to make a superhero type movie, but they don't do anything more. They don't go like a step above, or do like a different genre, like do like a murder mystery, but with superheroes. Right. And I think that with Invincible, it is a superhero show, but it also has this kind of feeling of kind of like a hip coming of age show too.
Yeah.
And I think that the music choices and stuff really exemplify that. Like there's this one sequence I really love where Eve is trying out her powers, and it's playing some kind of hip song that like I wouldn't even know the name of it or like where to find it. And she's like jumping on her discs, and like her jumping on the discs like goes with the tempo of the song. I was like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
It's like really the Transformers the movie.
Really good syncing up the music there, absolutely.
Yeah. So what else you got for this?
I guess that's it. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the season 2. Maybe I'll actually read the comic books before then.
Yeah.
Hopefully what I own covers enough of the story.
Yeah. Like I said, the comic is really good. I mean, Robert Kirkman, he definitely has earned his reputation. And I think Invincible is, I personally think Invincible is better than the Walking Dead comic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the time, Walking Dead was like one of the comics,
Yeah.
I think sometimes things just go on too long. And I think that's what Walking Dead maybe did. I think I own most of the trades. If not, I think I might be missing just the last one, honestly. Oh, wow. And I've only read. I haven't read like the last like 5 or so.
Yeah.
But volumes like 1 through 7, 1 through 8, all that stuff. The early TV seasons adapted are like stellar.
Yep. Totally agree. Yeah. Like with the governor and everything. Yeah. And before that. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, cool. Well, and then Robert Kirkman, I think he's working on some kind of thing that we might be interested in now, right?
Yeah, the Energon universe. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, guys, Brian and I actually have like toyed around with the idea of just covering that. Just like let's just cover Transformers comics.
Yeah, because we're gonna have them again, but then again, it's only gonna be like once a month. But yeah, I mean, I would love to talk about comics on here too. That's what we did here, and it makes sense. Although now there's like a whole bunch of shit coming out at the end of the year. We were worried about not having things to cover, but now we may need to cut things out.
Yeah,
we have Ahsoka coming up. We have Loki. We have Gen V, the second The Boys show.
Yeah.
We have Invincible. We have Echo. And we have movies. So we have the Marvels. We have Blue Beetle. Aquaman 2, I think, is supposed to come out this year. Although, being that we've still seen nothing, I'm skeptical of that coming out by the end of the year.
Right.
So
I've heard nothing good about that either.
Yeah, I've heard nothing good, but it's weird that we've seen nothing, and it's extra weird that we heard so many good things about the Flash and we weren't satisfied with it, and that people are saying this is bad. Like, what is that going to mean?
Yeah, what the fuck is this? Seriously.
And then also, you know, there's that, you know, the writers and actors strikes going on right now. I mean, maybe that's going to delay stuff past that. So, comic books aren't delayed. So
Hell yeah, I like that mindset, man. Yeah, who knows? You guys always can drop us some suggestions on what we can cover as well. We're definitely we like having that open dialogue with you guys where you can like kind of talk about what you're into. Oh, it looks like we have a comment here. I'm saying that, and then
I
like
just checked that myself.
okay, well, Valve's BTW said, "Hey, what's up?" Sorry, that was like 14 minutes ago. Sorry, Valves, but you look like Patrick from SpongeBob. But hi, that's cool. Thank you for commenting.
No, he's got binoculars with real eyes coming out of it.
Oh, yes. Okay, nice, nice. All right, well, thanks for watching, man. And thank you all for watching, too. And Brian and I will be here next week to talk about the Ninja Turtles movie, Mutant Mayhem. So